Let's see how we're doing here. Pop myself on up here. And what we're doing today is just kind of checking job boards for Linux tasks. I know people have been talking a lot, and we've been working through a lot of different stuff and going a lot of different directions in the group. But I think one of the main things that I get asked for from people down in the Discord, and then also when we're streaming like this, is just, or the main comment I get maybe is, can we just do like the job task? Can we just go and look at the jobs that are out there and the kind of things that people want? So we've been doing this, and I have a bunch of notes on this that are in the Discord, but for some reason I think people like to see it kind of fresh and live. So we'll go look at real jobs right now, and we'll pull the tasks out as we go, and we'll put them in the right over here, and we'll make our notes, and I'll put the notes in the Discord, and then you can look at them and use them as you like, right? With the primary goal of getting into this space. So all right, I'm gonna move the left side down, and let's just say I was at DICE and I was trying to do a Linux admin, and we'll say Phoenix, Arizona, because that's where I'm at, and we'll find whatever jobs are out there. Are they remote? Are they local? Who knows? But we'll look at them here. So there's Linux admin, posted moments ago from Liba. Don't read that wrong. That's Liba Technologies. Yeah. See what they want. Their contract W-2. That's, some people want that, right? To make sure they get W-2. They've got some questions, and they've got some stuff that you might need to do and know. Contract for up to 12 months, and then a lot of those jobs you get hired on eventually. That's kind of the way that those operate. And then here's some job details. Help perform a data center move from start to end. Okay, so that's interesting. So it could really just be 1-year contract. Here's the skill sets they want. Oh, they want experience 12 plus years. So, well, that may move some people out, but that is about 120 to 135-ish range, depending on how many hours you work and stuff. But what do they want? They want you to understand the Linux operating system. Now, you might say, well, Scott, do we put this over here? We might not put something so generic over there, but if we were to say, like, do we understand Linux operating systems at a high level, the things that I would care about. Oops. Let's go to Rocky 10 here in my environment. So yeah, we'll take that one. Understand Linux operating systems, right? That's something that they want us to do. Yeah, Street Track. Yeah, the 12 years is a little harsh, let's say, but I'm start paying attention to these videos now that I got rejected from the info. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Shaft, but I mean, sometimes these happen, and it's good. You got a lot of good experience, it sounds like, and I know you were studying with a lot of the guys, so it's unfortunately you got rejected, but hopefully you find some light at the end of the tunnel, find some other thing that's maybe even hopefully more interesting to you, because sometimes we take roles just to have a job, and then we're looking for that thing that we're really interested in. I've told you guys this before, and it may sound super Chad, but the idea is, I just kind of fell into the role that I love. I love doing what I do. I can't believe people pay me like they do to do the stuff that I do, and I try to show you guys that you guys can do this stuff too. So like that's kind of our group here, right? But again, understanding a Linux OS. You might, they might be, they could ask for a lot of stuff here. They could be asking like how it runs, right? They might be saying how it performs, right? They might be how it boots, right? They might even be saying something like what it is, right? So what is it? And these are the kind of things that, like, I always show you guys. I'm a very simple guy when it comes to systems work. When I go to a machine, I do cat etc splat release, and then I would know what is it, the OS type. Well, it's we're using Rocky 9.4 in this environment. Okay, that's going to inform all of the other things I'm going to do in this environment around how I ask questions, how I look things up, what documentation I read. whose blogs I reference. Everything's going to be based on that. Another one is, they're really big on like the virtualization. Like, do I know like vert what? Do I know? Oh, so that's not there. DMI decode grep for prod. All right, and then maybe I can see or grep for KVM. Well, let's just more it because I don't know where it is here. Um, oh, I can see that it's Zen, so I do have a Zen hypervisor, hardware virtualization module as well. I'm just looking for ways to identify. There you go, that it's Zen. So maybe I might have looked for, Zen, or maybe I might have looked for something like this, grep-IE, and then Zen. Whoops. Zen, and then maybe we would look for this. These are ors here, so Zen or like vert or KVM, or maybe if I just knew some common ones that I might expect. What's another one that would be kind of libvirt would be caught by vert, KVM, and maybe it's another one that might show it. Prod might show it because it would show product manufacturer or product name. So yeah, I mean, there we go. I would very quickly know that this was a virtualized machine, even if I didn't already know that because it's in my home lab, right? So, what type of OS? Rocky, and I know that with cat etc splat release, which, again, I told you guys, I never move off of these simple commands. I just try to do them well. Vert or physical. And why do I care if it's virtual or physical? Well, because that's going to determine things that I can do with that node. It's going to let me know about if there's another layer in there that I need to think about when I go to troubleshoot things and how it booted. There's a whole bunch of other considerations there based on if it's vert or physical. So DMI decode is a good source for this, and also vert what, if you have it, or some different applications like that. Typically vert what will be on a machine. I don't think I put it on all these nodes, but so how it runs, like so how it runs is like, what is it doing, right? So they might be asking you like, what is a node doing, right? So you might just come here and say, well, is it a web server? Well, how would I know if a server is a web server? I would have to know the web package for it typically. Or I might just look for, we probably can just do that by itself and then see, oh, this doesn't seem to be running any web applications. Like, it doesn't have 80, 80, 80, 8443, 443, any of those common ones. So ss-ntulp will show you open ports. Very quickly, if somebody were asking me to look at this node and tell me what I knew about it, I would say, well, I know in this cluster that we're running Promtail, so we're sending logs off the system because I happen to know that tool. I know that we're running a system D system. There's a lot of things here. Hey, thanks for the Prime Lore Sayer. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Those things always keep me motivated. All we're doing right now is looking through job. We're over here, right? I'm gonna move this down. It's gonna get bright. We're looking at a job and on dice.com, and then we're just we're going through tasks and things that people might find. Could you review the Linux roles on the following job sites like Meta, Jane Street, SquarePoint, Capital, IMC Trade? Chef, I'll just keep going through them for as long as we got. The wife gets off at 4 today and she doesn't have anything to do, so she'll be coming home. I'll probably only have till 5, so I probably only have about an hour and 20 to actually, like, our Fridays are normally kind of chill, but I kind of wanted to ramp people up and get people ready to go for the systems admin course this weekend. So I figured I'd come in with a little bit of not like a little bit of energy, but like a little bit of like us actually doing something. So yeah, I can try to hit some of those up for sure. Let me grab those real quick here. Meta. I didn't think I've ever even heard of Meta. Job sites. I'm doing dice right now, and then these other ones were, because I don't know these ones, so I'm just going to throw those there, and then I can look those up. So, again, this just says solid experience with the Linux OS. So how does it run? What's it doing? Another thing about how a node is doing, and you guys might think that I just show you this for labs or something, but I legitimately do this when I go to nodes. I do a ps-ef and I see everything that's happening. but that's way too much info. And then I do this, and ps-ef, and then I'll look for awk for just the first column, right? And even if I didn't show you guys, like even if I wasn't like, hey, this is how awk works, I think most of you can look at that and go, well, he's said he's going for the first column and he's using a $1, so that probably is the first column, right? So boom, that's okay, but then I need to sort them and pipe them through a unique -c to count them. And if I looked at this node just at like a high level, I'd go, it's not really doing much. I mean, I don't see a database by any kind of names that I know. I didn't see it from the ports earlier. I don't. So when they're talking about like, do you understand like Linux, and they're talking about like these 12 years of experience for this particular job, that's what it said in the job board. They're just asking you, do you understand the system? Do I understand how the system? So that's what it's doing, and then how is it performing, right? Well, so you might ask me, is this system under heavy load? And I would say, well, let's look at the different ways that we can check load on a system. Is it high from uptime? Shows this node is chilling. It's got one processor, two processors, and none of them, there's no wait time. So this node is chilling from the processor standpoint. There's nothing waiting to go on. You could also use top. Top would show you that the system's chilling and there's nothing really using much CPU or mem. That would be acceptable for some people, right? Hey, how's it going, Aid? We're just hanging out, and I'm taking notes on the right side, and on the left side we're doing some job search stuff, and I'm just showing you from actual job boards like what I would be looking for. Street Track, how's it going? Actually, it's funny. I'm getting like a lot more people talking over on the YouTube side today. But yeah, we're hanging out, right? We're just kind of doing whatever. How's the system performing? So I don't see high CPU. I don't see any process problems. I see things mostly chilling. You can also see that with VMstat. VMstat 1 would show you right here. These two right here are really around if there's any processes waiting for your CPU. These are runnable processes and blocking processes, right? And no, this system's mostly chilling. We also have a lot of free memory. Like the system's mostly hanging out, not really doing too much. We can look at, so those are two. That's the CPU and the memory. And the reason people tend to check those first is those tend to get saturated first on like nodes that are being worked on a lot. The other two things that you can check deal with saturation of slower devices. So we'll look at block devices or disks, right? They're not completely interchangeable words, but block devices tend to be our physical disks, so we can look at that. We can do iostat-c and just see every 1 second -d, sorry. And like, how are our disks doing? Are the disks in this system having a high transactional read and write? Now, you might say, what's high? Well, that's definitely low because it's 0. But high might be relative to what the channel path of the actual disk can handle. That's more of a architecture question, but we can still test that, right? We can do DDs and we can go grab, I always show you guys how we test systems and check things. This is why I tell you guys, when times are good, you should be checking your systems. And I have a whole set of these checks up in the Discord, and we've been going through them in the amateur, in the not amateur, but the Linux Systems Administration. We've been looking at how to test these things and see how our system works. But really, at the end of the day, this is very low, but what's high, that's going to be relative to what our system can handle and what our system's normally doing. But we see that this system's not doing too much. And then the last one is the network. And I think we have a SAR. Let's see if we have TCP on here. -n TCP. Let me go look. I gotta go look my commands up because I haven't looked at this one in a while. Hold on, let's go look at our presentations real quick. I always forget stuff, guys. You got to remember that. Next best thing to knowing something is knowing where to go look it up. This is going to get a little bright. It's not super bright, but it's a little bright. Where do I have it? Here. This is the way that I tend to check things if I just kind of want to know how the big four are doing. And even if, you hadn't thought about it, that's what I'm kind of going against is the big four. Network. Yeah, it's sar-n dev1. That's what it is. So now we would see, so now This is very obviously 0, but is our Ethernet or our loopback under high load? Loopback will never be under high load, guys. It's loopback, right? It's not really doing anything. But over here, we can see, are they high? Are they low? And then we can also see, I think it's, what's that other command? I thought it was error. I thought it was ETCP. Yeah. So we can see if there's, that's the read and write on the network. And then I definitely have one that shows errors. Where is that? -n-dev1, that'll show the interfaces. SAR-n TCP and ETCP. So look, we can look SAR-1 TCP or ETCP, and we can see on those nodes, are we having an abundance and any errors? Typically, these are the errors here, and these are good. We can just watch a node while it's on its daily operations of how many good attempts versus fails and retransmits and different types of things that come in, different types of failures that happen on the network are happening. That's what we can do. All right, so that's how it performs. So look at the big 4, and that is your CPU, memory, and then disk and network. And it's in that order because the CPU is the fastest. So if the CPU is tripping up, that's the first thing you're going to see. Memory is the next fastest. And they also become, before they ever cause errors, they become saturated from overusage, right? And we've been over this a lot, so I'm not going to hammer this too much right now. But utilization is 0 to 100%. Saturation is as a queue starts to form because you're at 100%, and then errors are as timeouts start to be hit, right? So, this is still, we're still just touching the top, understanding Linux operating systems. They might ask you how it boots. How did this system boot? How clean was the boot? And they might ask you what kernel and command line was booted, right? How clean was the boot, and what kernel command line was booted. Now for this, we're going to check a thing called the, so we're going to look at systemd, and we're going to look at the kernel ring buffer or dmessage, right? Just see how clean the system came up. So where's my nodes at? Where's my little thing at here? Yeah. So I'm on here, and if I needed to, I could say, so how clean was the boot? Systemd, systemctl, list units, state equals failed. Did you know that you could just look and say, hey, systemctl, do we have anything that failed when we booted? Because, you guys know that the hardware does a power on self-test first, and then it hands off to, it starts to read its block devices looking for a master boot record. From that master boot record, it hands off to grub, or the Grand Unified Bootloader, in this case probably grub version 2 in some systems. In this system, we bypass that because we're a stateless node, but that's not that big of a deal here. And then after, so after grub starts, grub is going to start a kernel and an init RAM image, right, init RD, and then it's going to start up, and then it's going to go mount all the actual disks, and then it's going to remount the root onto those disks, and then that's going to be a running system, right? We're going to have a kernel running, and we're going to have back-end disks running, our permanent storage, and then we're going to be up and operational. Once all that happens, the kernel calls up system, actually systemd is already running because systemd is doing a lot of that for you. If anything's busted, systemd calls it a failed state. So you can check how well did systemd happen. There's another one that, and I've showed you guys this one before. I love these systemd analyze blame. This is one of my favorite commands in all the world, because systemd analyze blame. It'll tell you, hey, I booted this system. What took the longest time? Right? So we go down to the bottom. We're at the bottom here, and it tells us from the time that we started systemd, these are all the processes that we called, and they're in order by how long they took, not in any kind of system dependency order. I can show you guys how to do system dependency order as well, but this WW client service took 5 seconds to start. That's the long pole in my tent. If I need to get this system to start faster, there are actually maybe some instances where to get the system to boot faster, you'd turn that off and then have something else start it after. Like, we can call the system up and good and then call that after. Because maybe the WW client service, which just runs the runtime of a werewolf cluster, the runtime overlays, maybe we don't care that much about it right now. So, all right. Let's see. Street Track said, is it possible to create a small scale version of my Rocky cluster with virtual? Yes, I think you could. Well, yeah, I think you could run. I think you could run a small little version of the Rocky. You would have to. So, if you did werewolf, the werewolf node would have to come up first, and then the other nodes would have to come up after, so that they could get the DHCP. I don't know how the DHCP would work in the network environment, but I mean, yeah, you could get it work in Street Track for sure. I am going to, when we're done with the Linux Systems Administration course, I'm probably going to retool over part of my lab for people that want to do a werewolf lab, or like a basic little werewolf course. So hopefully, no, you've been. Hi, I've been experimenting with Splunk on VM VPs. Health monitor keeps time to time complain about IO weight. How to monitor it manually? Can it be part of a quota enforced by hoster? I've never, or like, is that hoster? I've never messed with that. No, you've been, but I can tell you. You can definitely manually monitor the I/O of a system just with iostat-d. So you could manually see which disks and disk packs in a system that are seen are getting hot. Like, we call it getting hot because, like, this will all be cold looking, but one of them will be like red, right? Because we're writing to one of them. So that's something to kind of think about. And it's kind of funny. I have all these discs on here, but I don't remember in the lab where I made you guys, because in lab 3 we carved these all up and we did MDADM and we did some other stuff. And what I didn't do, and I have so many things I want to go back and like retool for the second run of the course. But what I would do is I would make you guys build those up and then do speed checks against them, and then go watch this to see them actually write to the different disks. Because when you're running a software RAID against B, C, and E, and then that's where they're all getting written to, you'll be seeing the kilobytes per second writes into the system. And then if there was a high number of disk cards because one of the disks was bad, it would be very obviously right here. So, yeah. Sigging out. You said, what tools am I using to build out my lab? I use, I've got a couple of, actually I've got 3 physical Dell. They're anywhere between like 610s and 720s, depending. There's 3 of them, and they sit behind me. I got a little green screen, and then they're behind me in the rack. Sometimes you guys can kind of see the rack behind me when I'm not using the green screen in my office here. And it's a little half rack, and they're just, they're just servers. I think they're 1U servers. I'm pretty sure. Anyways, they sit back there, and I run XCP-NG on them, which is a fork of Zen server. It's a type 1 hypervisor that just sits there and boots up, and then I can use this to maintain and manage them all. I can also manage them all through SSH. I can SSH into them and do all that stuff as well. In fact, we do maintain them with some infrastructure as code with Ansible sometimes. But for the most part, my inventory and my lab is set. This one is mostly just lab stuff and us messing around. This one down here is a lot of my infrastructure stuff, including my jump box. And then this right here has been our lab cluster. This is probably my beefiest server. They have about 120 gigs of RAM in them, and this one's got 32 cores. They chill pretty often. They're mostly just chilling. Like, watch, if we just look at it right now, how much work is this thing under? It's not doing much. But everybody that is in our Linux Systems Administration course is down here in like our Rocky boxes doing whatever they need to. These are controlled by a tool called Werewolf, and we're in the Werewolf nodes over here, and we can just kind of like, what did I do here? Did I leave my, give me a second here, guys. I don't, that was a super weird screen. Did I? we'll leave that one gone because I don't know what was going on in that screen. Anyways, over here we're in Rocky, or we're back here, and we can look at the nodes, and then Werewolf controls how those nodes boot in the environment, and that's all carved up inside of there. It's pretty permanent, and I know I keep getting told to move it over to Proxmox, and maybe one of these days I'll do it. I just haven't gone around. Street Track, I was just explaining overlays to one of my colleagues recently. Unfortunately, I can't show you that training, or I would show you all the training that I did for that. But I can go over overlays sometimes, Street Track, but not right now. But I can definitely do it sometime for you guys. So wait, we were in Rocky 10. Let's go back. And over here on the right, it says, how clean was the boot? So we use System D to analyze blame and see how long things took. We use System CTL to see if anything was failed. And then this is one of my favorite ones. Let's say that SSHD service right here. So System D analyze critical chain for this node right here. And this will tell me, and it's kind of backwards, right? Up here is the top, and then down here is where it started. But all the way up through here, these were all the things that were required before we got the SSHD service to come up. So if something, if for some reason SSHD was busted here and did not start, it was one of the busted things, I could go look through his critical chain to see, well, how long did it take to come up, and how did all these other things go? Yeah, Proxmox is probably a little more, I want to say like modern. A lot of people are moving to Proxmox too, because a lot of companies are looking for a way to exit off of ESXi right now, off of VMware, because VMware's effing expensive. So, all right. There's our Discord for anybody on the Twitch side. Let me share that with the people on the YouTube side as well. But yeah, I appreciate you sharing the Discord there. Anybody's welcome to hang out down there. If you guys haven't heard my spiel yet today, the only reason I really hop on stream here is to tell you guys that we've got a little group of professionals down there. It's about 3,200 people now. There's a fair number of us that are working in the field, and then there's a whole bunch of people that we're trying to get into the field, right? We're trying to show you guys that, one, if you're a hobbyist doing this for fun, you are capable of doing it, and then two, how you go about doing it. And that's the focus of what I'm showing right here. Like, we're actually looking at a job board and figuring out what the tasks are and what these kind of things look like. So how clean was the boot? System D, we could do system CTL list units -- state equals failed. We could do system D analyze blame just to see how long it took. This was how long. Oh, no. I just wanted that as a pound sign, not a reference to some other page. That's kind of cool. I didn't know that. I'm using a tool called LogSeq, LOGSEQ. It is a free tool. It is free and open source. Where is this? So here, LogSeq. It is a privacy-first open source knowledge base. It's a pretty good little tool. I kind of like it. I can also draw. I can pull up whiteboards and draw stuff for you guys if we wanted to talk like that. But it's pretty good. It's pretty all right. What was another system CTL command I did? Oh, system D analyze critical chain. Whoops, critical dash chain for sshd.service. And you do have to have the .service on there or that won't work, right? And then let's talk about this like D message. So I'll just leave that up because that's what I'm using on these notes. I use other notepad, or I use other types of notes as well, guys, but this is the one that I kind of like for when I'm talking with you guys. My primary one, some of you guys know, like when I'm doing work and I'm like doing engineering stuff, this is one of the things that I do is I just give you guys like a look at my Notepad++. This is one of the ones that I primarily use there. But LogSec's pretty good for this stuff. Log SEQ. Oh my god. Oh, not LogSecs. Log SEQ. All right. My CC down there is going to get me in a lot of trouble here. All right, that's funny. So, oh, so we checked the node. How did he boot? Dmessage. Pipe it through more. This is what's known as the ring buffer. And it shows you from the start of the kernel getting called what happened, right? Here's the command line. This is the longest command line I've ever seen, these type of nodes. I've never tried Notion, and I've never tried Obsidian, but I hear those are both really good. And I've been using VI and Vim for 20 something years. So I heard Obsidian would really appeal because it's VI or Vim, I guess. I don't really make the distinction because I don't do enough with them to care. I don't do enough customization to need the other stuff. But no, I've never tried Notion. I've never tried those. One that's I've really liked Zotero recently. Zotero is one that I use for some of my doctorate research because you can just grab a page and it'll copy the page. Like, let's go here and say I was doing some MITRE ATT&CK document or a NIST framework documentation, and it's downloaded the NIST framework doc for me so I can go look at it. But I can also come over here and say, go ahead and create a bibliography from the item in my APA style format. And then I should be able to drop that right here. Oh, no, that's not right. I must not have copied it. Hold on. So create that, hit OK to copy to clipboard. And then it should be, yeah, so that's the properly formatted APA entry to put into, you know, a research or discussion or whatever. So I really like Zotero for that stuff. I have my doctorate work and my redline work in there, and then as I grab things, I throw them in. And look, this is one of the other reasons it's so nice, is it's right here in my extensions. I can just run the Zotero connector against this, and it would grab all the stuff for me. So if I had like a wiki page that I wanted to keep track of, or if I had some document that I was reading out on like Google Scholar or something like that, I could look at that. So anyways, look here, we came down here, we did the ring buffer, so this was dmessage. Pipe it through more. And one of the things that we learned, if we've done this before, is as the kernel started, we've got the command line. That's very important for comparison with, let's say, 10 nodes boot. And I expect them all to boot, well, I got 19 nodes in the lab, right? I expect them all to boot the exact same effing way. And I come in here, and one of them's acting wonky. It's not coming up. I can't get SSH to start. Something's wrong. Well, the first thing I do, this is part of troubleshooting, is I look for what's different. I know that I pushed them all out through the same exact container that was built inside of the same exact werewolf system, and the node went and got its DHCP and pulled itself down. So what's wrong? What's busted? I'd come in here and I'd look, is the command line right? Is there, for some reason, you know, I might find it here, but I might have to go back into werewolf and reconfigure its command line, what we call the kernel arguments, right? But I can look in here. Are there any hardware? So the system just did a power on self-test, but then the next thing is the kernel does what we call walking the system bus, right? And as the kernel walks the system bus, I can see all kinds of stuff in here, mainly around how it's looking at memory, how it's looking at PCI cards, and just everything in the system, right? So you can do all kinds of stuff. And one of the things I love to look at here is grep-i for error. Did anything error? Did I like I was saying earlier, the network wasn't coming up. I couldn't SSH. Maybe I just come in here and grep for net, and I look for, does this look the same way as the other nodes in, you know, I have a whole bunch of systems, maybe. I have a whole bunch of systems, and there was questionable, maybe this happened, man, this happens in data centers a lot. Something will go down, one of the nodes will go down, so maybe Rocky 10 went down, he's a physical node, and we replaced a motherboard. That motherboard comes from the factory with different IPMI settings. He comes with different default BIOS settings, and there's no good way to overlay that unless it actually came out that way, or unless you do like a dump and go drop it in there, but then you still have some configurations typically. My point is, you can come in here and look for differences. Guys, I'm constantly crawling around systems doing forensic type stuff. I mean, I don't really sit around and think I'm doing, like, I don't have like my big magnifying glass out like Sherlock Holmes or something, but I am looking for things that are different on nodes, right? And I'm giving you guys commands that I think are useful. So I might look in there for errors, dmessage, grep-i error. I might look in here. Another one about how the system started up is I might just do an LSPCI. And this will tell me, LSPCI will show me all the PCI paths of all the things that I think are connected to the system. So maybe if I don't have something that I do have on one of the other nodes, and I come here and I can very quickly look between the nodes, or again, like a new motherboard came out and maybe somebody didn't seat all the way down. This happens in modern, like big physical systems that come from like Dell and NVIDIA and stuff. Sometimes there's so many components that click onto the motherboard after you set it up. I've actually seen it where maybe you just don't see. You're like, oh shoot, where's that one slot for the for the network card? I don't see the network card on here. And you're like, oh shoot. And then you go in, you pull it out, you unplug it, you let it discharge for 10 minutes, you put on your static equipment so you're not busting up your servers with your static electricity, and most of us just lean on the metal, right? You just put your arm on the metal, right? And there's different methods, but keep your shit from blowing up from your fingers, right? Because you will not feel the static discharge that damages your machine. I don't know if you guys know that. There's not enough static discharge for you to feel it before you've damaged a component. So anyways, you ground yourself to the system, right? And you do all that stuff, and then you just feel that it didn't click in all the way. And you do that, and then you push it back in, and you get this stuff up, and it works. And this is the kind of stuff that somebody might want to know in this. We're looking, so people that got here later, we're looking at an actual job. They want 12 years experience, so that's a little steep. But then they said solid Linux operating systems, and I'm just talking about some things that people might ask you about Linux operating systems. We haven't even gotten to question 2 yet. We haven't even gotten to the second one yet. What kernel and command line was booted? Again, that's the same stuff we normally look at. Uname-R to see what kernel we're on. Uname-M to see the architecture. Uname-A if you just want to look at it all together. Right? You can just look at it all together. The Uname-M and Uname-R are much more useful when we're writing scripts, because in my script I can check for that, right? I can check for that to make sure it's at least kernel version 5 or something, and then if it's not kernel version 5, this version of my script doesn't work, and then I tell you, hey dummy, go download the right version for your your whatever. That kind of stuff happens. All right, so other questions that I see there about the lab setup. What other tools do we use? I mostly use PuTTY to connect in. I jump in off of one jump box that's called P01 Jump 01, and then that node I use screen to just hit all my systems. So typically when you see me jumping around systems over here, whoops, that was not what I meant to do. Over here, you'll see me jump between different stuff, right? And see me do whatever I'm doing in my different labs, right, as we're doing whatever. Let me go back to 10. And then what was another question here? So they want us to understand IPv4 networking and troubleshooting. So they're always going to ask for networking. So somebody asked me the other day, like, do we really need to know networking? I would say, yeah. You need to know devices, their configs, like what's the current config, and that's going to include IP, subnet, and route. And then I would say devices would be what's connected or not, what's the current config, and then is basic networking working. So these would be the things that I would say generically at a high level. Control D to log out for the win. Yeah, okay, so over here, I'm back on this node, and devices. What devices do we have in this machine? Well, you can do IP adder, and that'll show a lot, but I actually have been really using this a lot lately. So IP brief adder. Also, if you have NMCLI con show, that's also a big one for if you're using Network Manager and NMCLI. So what devices are connected or not? You've got IP BR-ADDR or NMCLI con show. But, is it connected or not? I see that they're configured, right? But how do I know they're connected? Now we could ping. Ping's a little bit of cheating, but what if somebody said, "Hey Scott, you've got to troubleshoot why the connection's not there," and we already know ping's not working, and you're like, "Oh well, can't use ping then." How else would I know? And it's a virtual machine, so how might I know that the connection is there, even though it's virtual? I can't go to the back of the box and look for the little yellow or green connector anymore. What tool am I going to use for that? Anybody know that? I'm going to take a break here in a second, but think about that. Think about how you would check that. And what if somebody asked you that on an interview, right? Because we're looking at this as though we were actually in a job scenario, right? So you could go and you could check that. How would we know if ENS3 or ETH0 are connected? IPA? We could try that. I have no idea. Oh, I just typed it up there. Jeez, I'm a dummy. IPA. Does that actually tell me if something's connected? It tells me it's up. The state's up. That's fine. What if the state's down? How do I know if the device is connected? Is there another tool out there? There's a really good one. Let's see. I've never used IP link. Oh, that might be good. It'll tell me the state's up, but let's say that we knew it was down. So IP link could be good. The one I'm using, check status of adapter. How about this one? ETH0 is one of my favorite tools ever, from being a guy who worked in data centers on Linux for a long. Like I've been working on Linux for a long time, but I don't always tell you guys I also worked in the data centers on the physical servers for a long time too, because back in the day, like nowadays, I can do Linux from anywhere, and we could back then too, strictly speaking. It's just a lot of my work was top secret, so it was in a SCIF. But not just that, we used to also have to physically go to the devices more because they were physical devices. We were plugging stuff in. They're not all virtualized like they kind of are now. In fact, most of the time when I build high performance compute clusters, they are still physical boxes. We do a lot of virtualization, so you'll see a lot of virtualization on these jobs that we're looking up, but you should still know how to like take a server out of a rack and some of that stuff, because that's still kind of a... I didn't say server out of Iraq. Are you trying to trigger my PTSD? I said out of a rack. A rack, like a rack of... I'm just kidding. I love yelling at my closed captioning. Like, I mean, I'm definitely insane, and I turned 22 in Iraq. Stupid ass. My closed captioning doesn't know what's going on though. I'm making sure you guys are awake on a Friday afternoon. But anyways, so IP ETH tool. ETH tool is a great command. There's our... Hey, Robodom's here, man. Robodom, you were here just in time for me to flip out. I said ARAC, and my CC thought I said Iraq, and then I went back to the war, right? And I was a little combat infantryman running around with my rifle all over again. I'm just kidding. None of that stuff happened. Well, that stuff did happen, but none of the flashback happened. All right. So we can see the config. That's cool. But how do we check the route? We do IPR or IP route. That's another way to do it. Could we do NMCLI? Is there an option here for looking at the route? I think we have... Also, wait, would device show? I'm interested if device would show. I did not know this, guys. NMCLI will do device show. Look at that. ETH tool or NMCLI device show. I like that. I haven't seen that before. Look at that. It tells you it's connected. I like that. The other thing the ETH tool was so good for back in the day was there used to be... It's like stay a while and listen. There's a way back in the day... Nodes still do this, but there was systems could do half duplex or full duplex. Nowadays everything's full duplex, so you don't really run into this. But you would go use ETH tool to see what your system had negotiated to, and we used to sometimes, for certain SAN, which is storage area networking connections, sometimes we would have to set the system back to a half duplex, like half duplex 100. This is back. This is a long time ago. You won't see this anymore. But you can still nowadays go and run the ETH tool and see the speeds that your system's capable of. So in this case, we're not seeing that, but I do like this NMCLI device show, and it shows that it's connected. And then we see that that one's disconnected, so that's good. So, all right, route-n. Let's see that. There you go. That's nice too. It's also nice because it's got metrics here, and metrics are going to determine when something's picked over something else. So there's a thing called longest prefix match, and that happens first, and then typically metrics will take anything else. So longest prefix match looks like this. If I pinged 192.168.200.0 or .1, let's say, it would go over here and it would go, okay, 192.168.200, that matches perfectly. The longest prefix to match that would be this, and it would send it out here. So 192.168.200.1 would go out this interface. But if I were to have, let's say I had another one that was set up, and it just happened to be, because this is a /24, but I had another one set up that was a 192.168.0, and it was a /16, which is right here, and that was also set up in my system to go somewhere else, the longest prefix match would win. So this longer one here would go first because it's a more complete match of what I'm trying to hit. Now, before we get into an argument of how that works, I would tell you, you're probably right, but before we argued if that was actually not the way and the metric was picked first, I would tell you what we would do is we would go test it. And the way we would test it is we would set another route in here to 192.168.0.0/16, right, which would be 255.255.0.0, and we would test it, because I have that old saying, one test is worth 1,000 expert opinions. We could sit here and wax philosophical all day and argue about it, but we could just go test it, right? That's a thing about this. Oh, there was a question. Yeah, that's log seq up there. I actually have it in the background here. I pulled it up because somebody else asked about it earlier. Logseq.com. It's open source. It's free. It is free and open source, but their site is logsec.com. So you can go look it up. It's you can also pull it right off of GitHub if you want. So they have all their docs on. I like it. I think it's a pretty cool little tool. It's also got a built-in whiteboard, so I can say, I can grab my little stylus here, because I do have a little mouse, and then I could say, right, hi everyone. There you go, boom. Right, that kind of stuff. I don't always use that, but sometimes I'll draw stuff on there. I have a hard time doing that unless I move. I'd have to move the thing. I'd probably move it over to this side, because then it would be on the left side of the pad, and it's easier. Because my pad hits this whole big screen here, this whole screen. And when it's off to the right, I'm writing with my hand off the pad, if that makes sense. So if you guys need me to draw anything up, then let me know. But what I've been doing here is I've been going through this job site, and just on Dice, we looked up a job from Liba. Don't say that word wrong or you get in trouble. That's Liba, right? Not don't move the I around. And we got to here. We said 12 years experience. It's pretty good pay. They're not paying bad. And we were just looking through and breaking down. They wanted you to know about Linux, so here's some Linux stuff. Then they wanted to know about networking, so we were breaking down networking, right? And this was IPR, or what was the other one that we did? Route-N, right? That was also a good one. And then, is the networking working? So, well, what's our favorite one for that? It's always ping, right? Can we ping google.com? And we can. So we're pinging through, and if we're pinging, then that means we're name resolving. We can also do NS lookup for, if that didn't work, www.google, and we would see if our NS lookup is hitting something. We're hitting 8.8.8.8, which is an authoritative Google, actually that's one of Google's name servers. We could do host on www.google.com, and we can also dig it. Right, so we got these different ways to go look that stuff up. We want an A record, and there's our A record. There's also IPv6 records if you were going to use IPv6, and IPv6 records would come back as a quad A. So there would be 4 A's there, not just the 1 A record. So this is our A record of how to get there, and they're going to be roughly about the same, right? That kind of stuff. All right, what else? Did I miss anything? Cybershell said, how do I keep notes throughout different devices? Well, so what I tend to do is if I'm on Linux systems, as I'm doing stuff in the shell, I will have screen. So we're using screen across the bottom there. Screen will keep notes of, will keep track of what I've been doing for me. If I ever need to go look, like if I need to go look at all the output in a raw format against my system, screen is great for that. If I need to pull anything out, like let's say I'm making a set of steps, like this is how I check out a system, and I'm pulling them out and I'm doing them here. What I'll do a lot of times is I'll pull these things out, kind of just I think of it as like roughing it in, right? Like let's say I wanted to grab all this, I wanted my ping command, and I wanted some of these things I was doing. I would grab all these out and I would go through them, and like I use Notepad++ the most for this, and I would just grab them out, and then this would get probably, I'd go, oh well, we don't need all this and we don't really need this. Okay, I can get rid of that, and then I could maybe say, okay, that's pretty good for that, you know, and I could maybe pull some of this out, and I go, okay, these were the commands that we did or whatever. I think I had another one in there, but oh, I had a dig in there. Yeah, so I would say maybe this, like, because I want a little bit of the output, but then I don't want all of the output, and maybe that would be good enough for whatever I wanted. So I will pull things out as I go, and then this is a very like transitive thing that I show you guys because we're kind of like working, and I'm showing you guys how the madness that is me. But when I go to like turn this into like a professional looking document, nobody ever sees this stuff. This is like my scratch pad, and then this stuff goes into like a Confluence document or a media wiki or whatever I'm using. Professionally, I tend to use like Confluence because that's what my company pays for, and I build my training docs and my timing docs and different things around. When I say timing, I mean like within my procedures, how long things take. I'll write all that up as well. We're not doing a lot of time stuff here, so it doesn't really matter. But they want you familiar with different virtualization technologies. So VMware, that's a little outside of here. They want you familiar with containerization technologies. We're going to be going over that tomorrow. We have a free group. So if you guys don't know, we've got a professional Linux users group up in Discord, and we go through, if you go up here to events, we were at 208 people, but this event reset last week, and it really pissed me off, or a week and a half ago now. But we're back up to 31. It's free groups. We meet on Saturdays, and we meet down in the conferences and guest speakers, and we are doing Unit 9 of our Linux Systems Administration course, which is a free course. Anybody can come in and hang out. That is being run out of our, you go down to our projects channel, and you can go and see all of the different stuff. You can go download it all and just run away. I don't care, right? It's all the stuff in here. You can talk. You can see everybody's answers are out there. Like so as you do the discussions, you actually have to go and post where other people can see, and they respond to you, and you can respond to them, and you can learn from other engineers as you kind of learn. This is the same type of process that a college would do, right? RoboDom, I haven't talked to Sending about it yet, but I mean, if he can make it tomorrow, I'll see if he can come by and do it. I would really like him to show you guys from Lab 8 or from Unit 8 some of that programming stuff in Bash. Yeah, I think that would be really good if he can do it. Yeah, guys, last weekend one of the speakers came to talk to you guys, and since this had reset, it didn't alert anybody, and nobody showed up. I think one person showed up for like 5 minutes, so there was no talk last week, even though I had set somebody up to come talk to you guys. So there's also a question thread, and you can ask anything about the projects, because there's a project for the course as well. But that's all in there. You guys are welcome to go hang out in there and do that stuff. They want you to have some scripting experience. So they want you to understand Bash, Python, or something like GitHub, know how to push things to GitHub. So networking is basic networking working. That's ping, NSLookup, host, and dig, right? Those are the big ones for that. And then we go out here. And this next question, I'm skipping the containerization and Docker Kubernetes because while I think that that's good, I won't skip it. I won't skip it. We'll do it. Docker Kubernetes, right? They want you probably to know, possibly, how to build a container. They might want that. They might want you to know how to run a container. They might want to know that. They might want you to know how to check out Kubernetes systems, right? How to set up and check out Kubernetes to make sure it's working. Those might be some basic little things that they want to know. So how do we build a container, right? There's a container file. There are a bunch of steps to that container file. LG, that's actually good that you said that. So if you don't have the DocX or Microsoft Office or LibreOffice, LibreOffice is open source, right? You can also, I have it in text. So there's a text version of, you know what? I never did a text version of the syllabus or the project, so I could probably do those. Excuse me. But the worksheets are at least here. I've also not done it for the labs, but the worksheets are at least there. I guess, do you guys want me to start releasing, the labs as PDFs as well? Would you guys like that? I guess just let me know and I'll do that. Yeah, let me, I don't want to open a notebook, but because normally I write stuff down physically here. Yeah, let's start doing release. Let's say, yeah, I'll do them as PDF. Yeah, PDF we can open, and yeah, I'll start doing that. Because then you guys will have them and you can at least just read them. Okay, I can do that. I can do that. I can do that with the project doc and the syllabus. Okay, so yeah, because we're halfway through the course now, so it would be a good thing. I'll re-push everything tomorrow then, so people can see the project and all that, and I'll do it in PDFs. I think that'll be good for people. So, okay, good. That'll be good. And again, guys, everything in here, everything in the Discord's free. You guys can do whatever you want with it. You can always ask me questions. I have a bunch of places for you guys to ask me questions. I always emphasize this. There's the Twitch, YouTube questions. So if you have any questions later, if you question whatever this was doing, you can ask them there. You can also drop them. Typically, I think you guys can. I mean, you got all these. You got pretty much all this stuff. Off topic is pretty okay, and then typically general. If you guys drop questions in there too. Yeah. I actually have them. I probably don't have them in Markdown, but we'll do PDF because I think PDF's like the universal kind of format. But anyway, so how to build a container. Where was I doing this? Let's go check df-h. Where were we at? So lab work. I don't have anything in lab 9 yet, but I need to build that tonight. I was doing this yesterday and I didn't. Did I not save any of it? Oh gosh. Oh man, guys, I never know what I'm doing. Am I doing it in Rocky 1? I don't remember what the hell I was doing. Oh. Good gosh. I swear. I gotta write the lab still. YouTube said, "Am I gonna do an engineer course?" Yeah. So when we're done with this course, which will be the end of December, I will do an engineer one. Yeah. This one's systems administration. This is getting you guys in the entry level stuff. But I will do a more, well, should I say more challenging? I will show you guys what you need to do and study and learn to be to get the title of engineer. But then I kind of feel like Benjamin Franklin a little bit there. It's like, we'll give you this if you can keep it, right? Like, I mean, you're gonna have to learn it and do that stuff. It will be more challenging. It will be in ways that I don't think most people are ready for. It'll be more challenging. Yes. Yep. Uh, oh gosh, no. What was I doing again? I have no idea what I'm doing up here, guys. Ever. I just. I told you guys before, if you guys watched me work, you'd be like, I don't know how this guy gets anything done. But then at the end, I would have some nice little finished product, and you'd be like, oh wow, that is actually good. Like there's some method to this guy's madness. There is. I drive towards a goal as I do things. But all right, where were we at? Container file. So let me at least show you guys what a container file would look like. So Docker file. So we'll just go Docker file, and here's like a Docker reference of like what can be done inside of a container file. So I might say here, so container file, boom. And then the other one that I think was really what I wanted was like, what is going into a Docker file, right? And they've got a workflow. They're building a Flask app here. But let's just say that we wanted to just steal this top little bit, boom, right? And then I come back over here into my little app. And I now have on these nodes, I have Podman, right? So Podman's there. So I do Podman images, Podman PS. Those are the two things I used to always do in Docker. I think Docker, yeah, I was going to say Docker's not on this node, but I thought that there was an alias to Podman. Some people like to do that. They're pretty similar. But let's, we're just on a node. Make dir for, let's just call this stream, cd stream. And then in here, we're going to vi docker file, right? And I'm just going to drop, oh, geez. Well, apparently I didn't copy what I thought I copied. Because, it's me. Let's just copy this guy. Whatever this little chonky boy's doing. Set background. It says chunky. I said chonky. Equal dark, right? So now you guys can see. So there is what if all I wanted to do was this one little part of the config. Boom. Now, in here, I'm in a directory. I can say podman build -t, and I can tag this as like Ubuntu. And if I wanted to give it a specific tag locally for my stuff, and then from here. So in here, build this, and it's going to go and try to pull that, if it can, from whatever is set, and in this case, it's from docker.io, and it's going to pull that all down. Now, if I do a podman images and a podman ps, we have a local Ubuntu that's been pulled down, and it was the 2204. That was its tag. And then the one that I modified in some way and pushed back up with my build inside of that inside of that Docker file, I can have all kinds of customization that's going to build all these layers on this stuff, right? Yeah, well, so LG, this is why I'm saying right here, these would be the where'd that go? These would be the references that I would want you to go look at, right? And in this case, look, and I actually have a lab that shows you guys some build stuff, but I don't. Do you want? Well, there's a lab where I show you guys how to build a 3-tier app in Kubernetes, and one of the things I do is I do make you install, but I make you install through a requirements.txt file instead of this. This is just, they're having you install Flask, copy in your little Python Flask, and then you could run a little app locally, right? So we could actually do this whole thing on this node. And then look down here, when you actually finish running it and we run this container, we actually do a podman run of the container, and they give you a breakdown of all this. So this is a pretty good little concepts file, right? So we'll just throw that in the notes there. I'm not trying to make you guys. I'm not trying to make you guys experts on this right now, but I want you guys to see some of this stuff. And some of this stuff we're going to be using tomorrow. That's part of the reason I'm grabbing this. It shows you all the things and what it's doing, and then you build. And now when you run it, you would be able to then hit that node and see that little Hello World app. Do you guys want me to run the whole thing? I mean, I'll run it if you want. Oh, the syntax Docker, that's just telling you what's happening. This is a comment, and it's saying from Docker and then whatever. Yeah, I don't know what that means either, actually. They probably explain it somewhere in here, though. I don't know. That tells you the parser directive, the optional. That's probably why my first line gave me an error, is because I don't normally have that syntax in there. So, do you guys want that line? Here, I'll send this to you so you guys have it. Yeah, from run. So this starts to be where we can pull down and configure things. And for the lab tomorrow, because I still got to write the lab for tomorrow. Jeez, I'm so behind on shit. I will probably have you guys do this tool, and I will probably have you guys, I mean, it depends if I get enough, if I have enough time. I will probably have you guys build this. So we'll do it like this, and we'll use Podman, which is a lot like a Docker file. I mean, we're still calling them Docker files. And then I can make you do the same thing with Packer. And people fucking love Packer. We can pull an image down, build it, and push it up into like AWS or Google Cloud Platform and use it as like an AMI, an Amazon Machine Image, or I don't know what the Google one is. But you can do all that stuff if you guys want. All right, I got to take a real quick break, guys. Let me go. I'm going to put a little hourglass up. We'll also check on Ranger. So we'll say break. Break and Ranger cam. Check. So Ranger cam. Oops. How's Ranger doing? Ranger's down there, laying around. All right, I'll be back, guys. I will be back. Yeah, LG, they're always changing something. All right, I'll be right back. Hey, is Ranger actually moving around? I just heard the wife come home, so I'd be surprised if Ranger wasn't moving around too much. Alright. I am back, but we are still on break. Because we give longer breaks in case people want to take their full break, right? I don't want to just start talking again. But I have to turn off the camera down there because the weird angle. The wife will be walking around down there, and I always tell her, you're going to be on stream if you're over here, but she never pays attention. So, all right. So that's some good stuff. How to run a container is actually at the end of this. So you just do like a podman run. In this case, it'll be podman run and then whatever we tagged. Here. And if you run, so there's kind of a lot to think about with a container. But because we have a Flask app running, that container is going to keep running. But if we were, she was really rough this morning, but I got her bagel after I wrestled. So I wrestled and I grabbed some bagels on the way home, so she was pretty happy. But real quick, if you just do a podman run of something like that Ubuntu that I had grabbed, the problem is the Ubuntu will just run for a second and then it'll go away. But if you're running an application that stays running, like this application keeps running, the pod will continue to run unless you set it into daemon mode. If you set it in daemon mode, it'll keep running regardless. But I just wanted to let you guys know that. So this is actually really good. I'm probably going to work this into our lab. So some of you guys that are watching this, you're like, hey, that kind of looks a little bit like that lab that we're doing. Well, it's because good writers borrow, great writers steal, right? All right. By the way, I'll be back for a second. We were looking at jobs over here, and look at all these things. Passion for good documentation. You got to get good at taking notes. Even if your notes look like crap like mine to start, it doesn't matter. You can get better at note taking, but the first step to getting good at anything is start doing it, right? Because you have to be terrible at something to be good at something, right? That's like one of those rules. Let's see if the wife is heading home. Hold on. Oh, I gotta talk to the wife. So she came. Oh, she probably called me. I missed her call. Now we're good. By the way, the funny thing, I think I've told you guys this, is because I'm constantly looking at jobs and I'm constantly like reviewing things for my college students too. I am always like getting hit up by recruiters and stuff because people think I'm always looking, but I'm not. I'm not looking. I just constantly hear about it. Oh, look at this. They can't even spell test infrastructure engineer, right? Because I know no country where that is the word you spell infrastructure. But they want you to have attention to detail, but they don't want to have attention to detail themselves. By the way, some of the guys were saying that they're in London, and apparently this is UK based. So I think London and UK. However, data center in question is in London and would be folks that are in the UK type time. So there you go. Oh, I think Killer Code is great. I think it's one of the best things on the web. So could we do those things? Yes. All right. Let's go find another job. That was a good little start for the job. Let's go look at another one. There's another Linux admin contract. Let's filter down, and let's say we didn't want any contract. We only wanted full-time employment. And then let's see what comes up. So there's a senior. I didn't say senior. I only said Linux admin, right? I am Reda. So Linux jobs these days include Kubernetes. Some of them, yeah. I mean, that one did, yeah. We're looking through real jobs right now. So I mean, yeah, that one did. This one has been up there forever from Canonical. I don't think this one ever has been filled. Security software engineer from Canonical. You can do it from Phoenix. Embedded Linux consultant. Let's go look. I'm interested to see what they want with Linux consultant when they're doing all this Linux building of stuff. Let's see what an embedded Linux consultant does. I'm curious as to what this job is here. Get out of the way. So many ads, right? We're still on break, by the way, guys. I'm just looking through stuff a little bit. They want you to have solid embedded Linux experience, so Yocto or Buildroot. I've never used any of those. I think I've used RTOS, but it's been a long time. They want you to have extensive Linux experience in Debian or Ubuntu. Very rare that I see one of them preferred other than like Red Hat. So this is good. They're looking for something else, but that kind of makes sense because it's Canonical, which is Ubuntu, right? Humble learner and a quick study. That's always fun. Personal drive to meet commitments. Good. These aren't your technical things. These are your technical. They want you to be fluent in at least Golang, Python, C, C++, or Rust. So there you go. Yeah. Well, Robodom, a trick that some people will use is when you go to look for a job with somebody, go look at other jobs in that same space. Because let's say you're getting on web dev, but then you go and you look and it's all a Linux stack, and then you can let them know, hey, I was looking at your other jobs and it looks like you guys run a lot of Linux. If this web dev stack is based on Linux, I also have a pretty good fluency with that, so I'll be able to work with those guys. Like you can put that stuff as you're talking to people. So there's that. These ones are, they give you some information about the information. Yeah, this is like a very high level one, so there's not really much for us to dig out of that. But let's go look over here. Let's go look at another one. So those are interesting. Security analyst, threat hunter. So it probably says Linux somewhere in here, but this is a security job. Nothing wrong with that, right? We can still go look at it, right? 100 to 140, it's pretty good for some people, right? That's not terrible pay. I don't know where you are in the world, but that might be kind of good. But then we come over here. They want you to know these things, so you need to know some Windows on top of Linux. And then what are they asking for down here? You need to understand how to work with 3+ years experience in managed detection and response in a security focused position. So they want you to have done some security operations work. You know, I'm telling you guys all the time that security operations is a good place to start, or network operations. Well, if you're constantly monitoring things, that's what they're looking for. Strong ability to perform network forensics. That almost 100% means Wireshark. They they almost always mean, can you pull up Wireshark? Can you look through this? And can you tell generally what was happening here? Well, I see SSH being connected. Maybe I go and I follow that TCP stream of SSH, and I can see that SSH was talking between 192.168.11.68, which is my home system here, and the 245 server, which happens to be my jump box. So if I knew this environment, I could tell them very quickly kind of what was talking, and it looks like it was some SSH protocol, so we can't really see what's going on, but we can see that it is encrypted traffic. So if the question was, are they using encrypted traffic for their SSH connections? By definition, you are, but of course, there you go, boom. So we've got prior threat hunting experience. So they want you to be able to look at your systems holistically through EDR or SIEM tools and look for threats in the environment, right? So they want you to understand that MITRE attack framework. Has somebody been trying to scan and enumerate our systems? Have we seen that happen? Are our systems being probed and our users trying to log in, and our logs showing an increase of users trying to log into things that they shouldn't? That's threat hunting type stuff, right? For the security posting, I feel they're just writing something generic and over something. Yeah, sometimes they do that. Yeah. This is why I tell you guys, like, you also probably, if you have like a Linux background like me, you would probably have to cater to this type of job. They want you to have experience working with at least one EDR and SIEM tool. So one of them, I just had one up. Where do I have that one up? I have an EDR right here, Wazoo, right? This is a, we'll just go to this. It is an open source XDR or SIEM. Some people call that EDR. Endpoint detection and response and security information and event monitoring, right? But this is a free and open source tool. So you could at least say that you had run that, right? You could at least say that you had that going in your environment, and you could talk to that a little bit. So I didn't even finish these ones, but there we go. What was this one? This was right. And what did they want with security analysts? They wanted you to have 3 years on the job. They wanted you to have strong network forensics. That's a TCP dump for us, and it's Wireshark for looking at it, and also on the Windows side, you can grab stuff with Wireshark. Lucky, yeah, I will publish these. I'll put them typically where they go is if you go to our Discord. I'll put them in meeting notes typically. This was our one from the other day. We were just talking about like what I was doing when I was hanging out, and this was the stuff that we were talking about yesterday. Some people were asking about the value of a service that you could add as a Linux system admin, monitoring email, how you might do that. We were talking about Khan Academy and that kind of stuff. Nmap's pretty good for scanning your own stuff. If you're root, you don't need Nmap because you'll be able to look in the internals and do an SS and see what's open. Nmap is just like a validation for somebody who has root on a box, right? They want you to have prior threat hunting and EDR or SIEM, so you can practice with open source Wuza, right? Is that how you spell that? I've never used that tool. I'm going to put that in the lab for playing around with. Because, or is it Wazoo? How do you spell that? I don't know. Wazoo. So W-A-Z-U-H. We'll play with that in the lab here one of these days. Right? And what was the... Let's go grab his wazoo.com. And then Keycloak. I got to put Keycloak in the cluster, in the home lab cluster so that people can log in. I want people to be able to log in and kind of track. I don't care about tracking people from having their information type of. I just want people to be able to come in as their own user, and then if I say, you didn't ever do anything in the lab, you could be like, no, there I am logging in all these times, and I'd be like, all right, you got it, okay, They want you to be able to do consulting. So consulting level work means, man, that you've been doing it for a while, right? They want you to know scripting. And they want a popular language, so that means they probably want either some type of Python or for scripting type stuff, they typically mean Python, Bash, or Ansible. And that's really just YAML, right? As the language, if you will. They want a strong Windows or Linux background, so they do want Windows as well as Linux in this one. And I said Linux admin, but they still said, look, they have 6 primary clients, and they're going to do some threat hunting. And each one is going to be with the company's different NDR, so you're going to be using different endpoint detection tooling every day. So that's like a lot of, Wazoo. I've never used it. I've only seen some people talk about it, and yeah, we'll play with it. We'll see what it kind of looks like in the environment one of these days. How much tech are you gonna be doing? 100% security. Under managed detection and response, bonus eligible. It looks like probably not a bad job. Looks like good pay to start, right? But they do want you to have a significant amount of skills. So this security analyst, we could just grab. Let's make sure there's no weird stuff on it. I'll post this. I'll put the jobs with it if you guys want. Oh, that's a lot. That's fine. I don't care. The other one was up here. The other one we were looking at was. Yeah, I feel like we've lost the original one. Yeah, we've definitely lost this. Ooh, GDIT, HPC administrator. You guys gonna go work with General Dynamics out here in Phoenix? External page. The hell? I don't want to apply. I do want to see what their job is, though. They're sending us to their GDIT stuff. Ooh. Look at this. We need to be able to get a public trust, which means that, well, it says public trust or other required, but then it doesn't say anything. Clearance must be able to, it says none. So, okay, that's fine. They don't need public trust, but that is important to know because that means public trust tends to mean that you have to be an American citizen and probably for a few years. Top secret requires, some top secret requires you to have been an American citizen from birth, which doesn't help everybody out. But what do they want? So they have some stuff. Here's some daily skill stuff, right? You need to understand HPC systems and administrative skills, desire to learn new, developing and deploying monitoring capabilities. Guys, monitoring is like, monitoring is one of these things that like even big companies don't do as well as you probably think. And if you could just get like basic node exporter and Prometheus running, for a lot of people, they'd be like, wow, this is really cool. This is really good. Throw a Grafana endpoint on it and then just show them some dashboards and they're pretty happy. Developing and implementing tools for cluster administration. So you're probably going to have some type of cluster administration tool here. That's Manassas, Virginia. So they're going to need you in Manassas, Virginia. So, that's super funny. When I saw that, and then I saw it's WCOG. So GDIT, this is working on the same team that I built. So my company, Redline, we worked with GDIT, which is General Dynamics IT, to build out the WCOS 2 program, which was the rebuild of the NOAA systems. So this is funny. These are the guys that are maintaining that system. So I actually have I still work with them. Yeah, this is all, yep. So HPCM, they want you to know Bright, but it's an HPCM cluster. Yeah. All of these things in here we've talked about before, or worked through in our HPC environment, in our HPC talk. We talked about all these different pieces here. Oh, guys, but I do have to go. The wife's here. Fridays are for messing around, you guys know, for the most part. But what did we do? We looked at just some jobs. I will grab this like I said I would. And I will go and drop this in the Discord so you guys have it, right? Notes for Friday chill stream looking at jobs online. Too big? It's not too big. Okay, there you go. There you go. You guys got all the notes there. All the stuff that we were kind of doing and working on. So, all right. I got to go. I didn't even think about it. Since the wife's home, she wants to eat something probably. So we'll go to our little end of stream. I'll raid you guys out on the Twitch side. I appreciate you guys coming. I will see some of you guys tomorrow hanging out. Everybody's welcome to hang out down in the Discord. You guys are always welcome to do that. Let's go see if anybody's online that I know. Let's go hit up, we'll go raid Practical. Practical's doing stuff. He's building stuff in his game. So our raid will be do all the Linux. So I appreciate you guys coming by, and I will see some of you tomorrow during our stream. Not our stream, our actual meeting. We do a meeting, right, down in Discord. So, all right, take care, guys.